Hi guys! Today we are going to be drawing a Funko Pop figure. A Funko Pop figure are kind of like those toys that you see at the store. They're collectible, they're a lot of fun, and we're going to be learning how to draw a person in that style so that we can kind of step away from using the stick figure drawings as people. Okay, we want to draw people that actually have arms and legs and look like real people, kind of. So this is what my end product looks like. I have another example of one that I did of myself. Okay, so here's a self-portrait. Here's another self-portrait of mine. Okay, and so we're going to follow these basic steps right here. Okay, so we're going to sketch out a triangle. We're going to round those corners out, grid it, and add some eyes. Then we're going to start adding the body using simple shapes to help us draw that out. We're going to add some realistic clothing and finish up with some hair and eyebrows and all of that business. So to start off with, you need your paper, you need a pencil, and you need yourself. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure 3 fingers from the top. So I'm going to take my 3 fingers here, I'm going to line them up with the edge of my paper like this, and I'm going to make a little dash right here to show that I have this space up here. Okay, this is to help us make sure that we're making the right sized Funko Pop figure, because if we don't, we're going to end up with a Funko Pop figure that is too small. Okay, so I do the top, and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to take 3 fingers from the bottom, line it up with the edge of the page, and make a little dash right here. Okay, so I know that my Funko Pop figure has to fit between here and here. Okay, now I'm going to start mapping out where my proportions are going to go. Okay, this is really great because it helps you make sure that you're drawing to the right size still. Sometimes people, if they don't map out their proportions, they still end up with a really small Funko Pop figure instead of going all the way down here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to think about is the size of my head. And the size of my head is going to be about 1/3 of the size of my body for a Funko Pop figure because they have such big heads. So I'm going to take my fingers here, I'm going to meet in the middle, okay? So that's about halfway, and I'm going to go up just a little bit to make it 1/3. Okay, so this line right here. And I'm going to make another little dash. Okay, so I have 2 dashes here, and this is where my face is going to go. Okay, now I have this space between here and here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to find my halfway point, and I'm going to move up just a little bit because usually your legs are longer than your torso. Okay, so now I have 4 little dashes right here. Okay, so this top section here is going to be where my face goes. This section's where my torso goes, and this section down here is where my legs and feet go. Now, if you end up going a little bit over or under these lines, that's fine because we can always make adjustments, right? You might get to this one and go, oh, actually, that's a little bit too wide. Or maybe you might realize that it's not quite tall enough. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to sketch out a rectangle like so. And I want my rectangle to be wider than it is tall. I don't want a square head because then I'll look like a Lego person. Okay, and we're drawing Funko Pop figures, not Legos, different toys. Okay, like this. And then we'll line this out here. Okay, now I'm going to round out these corners here like this, kind of using a C shape. Like so. And then I'm going to erase these corners. So if you look up close, you can see my original square corner and then my rounded corner. I'm going to get rid of that square corner there. Okay, so I have the head of my Funko Pop figure. And I feel like I'm a little bit off here, so I'm going to kind of fix this up a little bit. Okay, now for the neck, you want to make sure that you don't have a neck that's too wide or too thin. Okay, and we're going to put this, actually I take that back, I forgot to do the face. Back it up, Miss Gwen. Okay, I'm going to divide very lightly because I'm going to erase these lines eventually. Okay, I'm going to divide my face into quarters just like this. Okay, my eyes are going to go a little bit below the line that goes across here, and I'm going to just kind of make a soft circle here. Okay, and same thing here. Like so. And then I'm going to add a little nose and some eyebrows. Okay, and I can get rid of those grid lines. Okay. Now, back to the neck. So my neck, I want to make sure it's not too thick or too thin, and I don't want to make it super long either. Okay, so about this width or so down the center so below the nose. And then I'm going to think about what type of shirt my person's wearing. Okay, so on this part, I want to think about the neckline. Is it a rounded neckline? Is it a V-neck? Okay, I think I'm going to do a rounded neckline, and I usually kind of do like a smile line like this. Okay, so it's a little kind of like a happy face line. Okay, then I'm going to add my shoulders, and you want to make sure that your shoulders aren't rounded like this right here, because nobody's shoulders are rounded like that. It's going to end up looking like maybe you don't have actual arms. Okay, so we want to go either straight out or slightly angled downward just a little bit, but relatively straight. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of bring my shoulders down here just a little bit. Okay, and I like to add in my torso now. So for my torso, I'm going to give myself some space here, right? Because this is my shoulder, right? And this is kind of where my armpit is starting, right? And so I'm going to kind of angle this here, and I'm going to kind of come in a little bit at the waist and then flare back out for the hips. So we're coming in a little at the waist and flaring back out. Okay, and make sure that you're not making this super drastic. We don't want like a whole S line going on here. Okay, we want it to be kind of subtle. Okay, and then I have the bottom of my shirt. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my legs here before I go back and add my arms. I don't know why, it's just a personal preference. If you wanna add your arms now, that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in some legs now. And one of the things I wanna keep in mind is I'm drawing from this line that I have going on. And if I'm wearing, I'm gonna draw my person wearing like leggings or skinny jeans or something like that for this. But one of the things you wanna keep in mind is that your legs are gonna kind of go in just a little bit, because we don't want it to look like our person is in the middle of doing the splits. Okay, so I'm going to draw this line, and it's going to come inward here just a little bit. Same thing with this one. We're going to kind of bring it in here just a little. Okay, and then when you're drawing your legs, I want you to think about what it looks like when you're folding your laundry and you have a pair of pants that you're folding. Okay, sometimes people draw a square here, and that's not, kind of looks like SpongeBob, which is not really the style we're going for, but also that's not really what our pants look like. It's not very realistic. Sometimes people skip SpongeBob and they go directly to Adventure Time, where they draw pants that look like this. Okay, and again, your pants, your jeans, if you're looking at them, don't really look like that. They have more of a V shape. Okay, so I want to draw this here, and what I'm going to do is I want to think about my knee or my legs in two parts. Okay, so I'm thinking here's my thigh, here's my shin, right, or my calf. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down here a little bit, and then it's going to angle out a tiny bit so I look like I have some calf muscles in, and then it's going to go into my leg right here. And I'm actually going to fix this out. Let's see. So we're going to bring this in just a tiny bit and then straighten it out. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on this one. So I'm going to bring this in here a little bit and then out just a tiny bit to kind of show my calf. Okay, again, very subtle. We don't want this to look like you have super crazy bulging calves or anything like that. Okay, and then I'm going to angle this back in a little more specifically. So angling that in here and then kind of straightening it out here and thinning it up once we get to the ankles. Okay, now for my shoes, I think I'm going to have my person wearing flats. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line coming down here. Okay, this is the back of the shoe. This is your heel. Okay, this is going to be the bottom of the shoe. So think about the bottom inside of your shoe, right? Like the part that touches the other shoe if you have your feet together. Okay, I'm going to angle that down here at kind of a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to start rounding out the toe, just like this. Okay, and don't make your feet too small. Sometimes people make their feet so teeny tiny it looks like they can barely walk on them because their feet are so small. Okay, and it's going to angle back up here and meet right back up here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my line. You can see my original line. I went a little bit past that, but that's okay. It's okay to go a little past. You don't want to go a crazy amount past. Okay, now I'm going to make sure that this looks like a flat. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do Vans instead. I changed my mind. All right, so for Vans, we have the bottom rubber part that goes like this. All right, and I'm doing Vans slip-ons. Okay, so this is the bottom rubber part. And then the top kind of has this weird shape up here, right? And then it has this little shape back here. Okay, so you can see I have my heel, I have this line here, and that's the top portion. I don't totally love it, but I'm going to move on to the other one. Okay, I'm going to draw a straight line down here. I want to make sure that these are relatively the same length, so I look like I don't have one leg shorter than the other. Then I'm going to angle, again, about 45 degrees, and then I'm going to check here and say, okay, this is going to go right about here. Okay. I still feel like this looks too big. We'll see. Yeah, I think so. Okay, we're going to turn this just a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to add in those details. So I have the bottom rubber part of my slip-on, like so. And then I have the heel, comes down here. And then I have that kind of like weird shape. That looks like that. Okay, now, so I have my shoes on here. I have some pants on, and then you can add in details like if you want to add your pockets, right? Or maybe you have like, I don't know, some like tears in your pants. I'm not a ripped jean kind of person, but okay. And for the arms, we want to think about the same thing that we did on the legs. See how we have those two sections? We have above the knee and below the knee. We're going to think about our arms the same way, above the elbow and below the elbow. So I have, you also want to think about how your arms are going to go, what direction you want them to be in. If you choose to have one hand going in your pocket, that's fine, but you need to at least have another hand out there somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to have my person with their arm down to their side. Okay, so I want to think about what that looks like here. Okay, so you want to think about kind of like your armpit. Okay, I know I've said armpit way too much on this video, but you have to consider these things. So your armpit, again, it doesn't have a super rounded look to it. It has more of that kind of triangular shape like this. Okay, so if my arm is going down to my side here, it's probably going to look like this. It's going to kind of angle in this way, right? And I want to think about where my elbows go according to my torso, right? So usually your elbows hit about where your belly button would be, right? So like my person's belly button would be right about here, okay? And so my elbows usually hit close to that line. So I'm going to angle this in here a little bit. I feel like that line's getting too dark. Okay, so I'm going to angle this in here a little bit, okay, because we have, you know, our elbows. And then I'm going to have, it's going to be a little straighter down here, just like I did with the outside part of my leg. Okay, and I'm going to have this kind of coming in here to be a little thinner for my wrist. Now, I want you to think, while you're drawing your hands, think about where your hands hit at on your body, okay? Sometimes people draw their hands to where they stop right here. They have little arms that look like this, okay? That's way too short because they can't even reach their pocket, right? If you think about it, if you put your hands down by your side, your hands usually reach to about mid-thigh, so somewhere around here. Okay, so my hand needs to go about in that direction too. Okay, and since I have this angle with my hand kind of facing forward, I'm going to draw, for hands, I always like to kind of block them out first. Before I add in any details. Almost like they were wearing mittens or something. Okay, and then I can go in and kind of refine. Right, so I might change it so that my fingers look there we go. Because I'm drawing like the side view. If your hand was down by your side, it would look kind of like this. Okay, so there's that. And then this hand over here, I think that I'm going to make it so that it has its hand out. Okay, and maybe it's waving. Okay, so I want to think about my own body while I'm drawing this. Okay, again, my elbow is still going to come down here. Okay, and so it's going to be kind of like, it's going to come down this way here. And it's going to come down kind of straight first, because if you're waving, your arm doesn't go out super far like this. Okay, then it would look like you were trying to like catch something, or maybe like Vanna White show somebody something. So again, my elbows are going to come down about here. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of thin this up the closer I get to the elbow, right? And then it's going to be a little bit wider again because your forearm has muscles. And it's going to come up right here. Oh, I hate this elbow. Let's try this again. Okay, and then I want to make sure that I'm thinning it up by the time I get to my wrist. There we go. Okay, and then again, I kind of like to block out where my hand's going to go. So I usually think, okay, here's my palm section. Here's the line where my palms are at. Right, my thumb. It's going to go here. And then my fingers are going to come up past that. And then I have my pinky. There we go. Because I don't want to end up with a hand that looks like, whoa, not like that. Definitely not like that. But I don't want to look like a hand that has this on it, right? Because that's not as realistic. We're trying to get a little bit realistic. I know we're doing the Funko Pop head, but I'm going to get a little bit more realistic. Okay, and I think that I'm going to make my person, I'm going to get rid of that guideline of a belly button. And I think I'm going to make my person have on a short sleeve shirt. All right, and maybe they're wearing a BA shirt. Boom. Okay, well now I have to add some hair to my person. Okay, now if I were basing this on my own hair, I would make it nice and long. Okay, you can also make short hair on this one. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. I'm gonna have I'll upload a picture for you guys so you can see different hairstyles. Okay, but I'm gonna draw true to mine. Now, if you are drawing your person, you wanna make sure that you're not just drawing hair on top of their head, okay, because you actually have hair that comes down and frames your face. Okay, so that means that we're going to draw down here across our forehead a little bit. Okay, so my hair is parted to the side, so I'm going to draw a line going here, and I'm going to bring it maybe about here or so. Okay, and then I'm going to draw the other side because again, my hair is parted to the side. like this. Okay, now I'm going to draw the hair on top. And when you draw this, you don't want to draw a huge hill, okay? Because I love Dolly Parton, but nobody in class that I've seen so far has Dolly Parton hair. So we don't want to add too much volume up here. Okay, so again, I'm going to do kind of the same little triangular section that I have here, only in opposites. So I'm going to kind of carefully go around close to my shape. And I'm going to bring this pretty straight down here. I don't want to, again, I don't want to come out so you don't look like you have triangular hair. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, not going too tall on that. Like so. Okay, and again, we're going to bring this down here, just like this. And my hair is very long, so I'm going to put it pretty long. Okay, and maybe I kind of bring this in just a little because my hair is tapered. Right, so then there is my hair. And I'm gonna get rid of this because you can't really see my scalp through my head. So I'm gonna erase these lines here because it makes it look more finished. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and shade in my eyes just a little bit. So it looks more like a Funko Pop figure. Okay, and remember too, Funko Pop figures don't really have mouths so much. They have little tiny noses and then they have those dark circular eyes. Okay, and that's all you need to know about making a Funko Pop figure. Again, we were 3 fingers from the top, 3 fingers from the bottom. We ended up going over that just a little bit, but not too much. You can see we have a nice margin down here and a nice margin up here. Okay, so keep that in mind while you're drawing yours. Make sure you map it out. And like I said, I will have more hairstyles uploaded for you guys to see.